Swaay.Health.
Hi, Matt. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Brittany.
So, as you guys know, or maybe some of you might not know, I'm joined today by Matt DiVenere, Director of Content Development at Optimum Healthcare IT. And we're going to be diving into a topic that's front and center for a lot of healthcare marketers right now, how AI is changing the way we approach content and what that means for thought leadership. And Matt, as someone who's been leading the charge on content strategy in this evolving landscape for feel like forever, you bring a sharp perspective on this front, and I'm excited to dive into it with you today. So first and foremost, maybe you can give me and our listeners and our viewers a little background about your role and what you do at Optimum.
Yeah, sure thing. Again, thanks for having me. So my role as Director of Content Development at Optimum Healthcare IT is all things content, top funnel, bottom funnel, you name it. So case studies, white papers. I also do a lot with the sales team and product, which is great. But anything written, video, you name it, I've seen it, I've touched it. We've been doing some amazing things over there, incorporating AI into our strategies and as a tool in our toolbox. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this conversation today.
So, if we kind of take a step back from a holistic perspective and we think about AI, what's your thoughts on how AI is really reshaping the content development process in healthcare marketing today?
Yeah, I think AI has truly upended the content development process. And if it hasn't for your organization, you're a bit behind, unfortunately. Um,
Gotcha.
it, it's one of those new tools that are in the toolbox. We've been lucky enough in the content world to have a lot of fun stuff come our way. Video
Mm,
content has been really, really fresh and new over the last few years, and everyone transitioned over to video for a while. And now with this AI tool, we can now generate content for some twice as fast, three times and as fast as you kind of want to do it. Um,
mm,
there's a number of ways that it has directly impacted from a tactical perspective too. So, you're talking about whether you use AI for your first draft, as an
mm.
editing tool, you can use it within your research, or even upcycling content. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Not only that, but the way and what you're creating has also changed. So the words that we're using mean even more because not only are we chasing that SEO unicorn over the rainbow, but now we're also going for AI enhanced search results too. So that's very, very important. It's a part of our strategy at Optimum. And I'm sure for many healthcare marketers, it is on the radar for them as well.
Yeah, for sure. And as you mentioned, if you aren't, typically using AI in even your content development or even just your research phase, you probably soon will, or you should be doing that because I think almost everybody is doing that today from their marketing efforts. Um, but where does that leave the concept of true thought leadership in this new environment? Does that you know, make us not have true thought leadership, or is it just, as you said, a tool that we're using to help enhance, some of the content that we do have, or the process for developing new content?
Yeah, so I always start with the basis of what is thought leadership to you. So
Mm,
each organization has a different definition of it. Some folks see thought leadership as strictly content that comes from an SEO.
mm,
Some of it as what the brand's perspective is. Some think of it as anything that goes out that doesn't get picked up by the earned media is thought
mm,
leadership. So it really starts there. So what does your organization's goal around thought leadership entail? So for me, when I think thought leadership, it's unique ideas. It's ways to tackle a problem that is significant. So with that definition in mind, I've looked at this question a few times, Brittany, when you sent it to me, and I've waffled for a little bit on it, I will say. So on one hand, AI, you know, can enhance your thought leadership process, right? So when you're in those meetings with your leadership, and you only have 30 minutes because everyone's very, very busy at that level, it can help in a number of ways, right? It can scribe your notes. It can come with
Mm,
some opportunities to summarize that and give them a response quicker to keep that flow going. I think we all would love to be able to sit down with our leaders and at the C level, once a week for 30 minutes and just pick their brains and get it. But for the most part, you have to have strategic meetings around that and make sure
mm,
that you use your time wisely. So AI as a tool there truly helps with the ideation of it, with just being able to almost be a partner on the call with you. And I don't know if I've
mhm,
been at a meeting lately where I haven't had an AI tool listening in and taking notes and then
mm.
that person to join you. I don't know, Brittany, have you had any of those recently?
Yeah, so I don't know if I've had any of them join me, but I'm using AI on a regular basis. And I think for me, like you said, it is a good almost, time saver or, organization, assistant of thoughts or even just ideation as well to really kind of, okay, here are all my thoughts. Let's get them all together in a succinct fashion so we can, maximize my time with my CEO or with my colleagues so we can, go from point A to point C in an efficient manner and kind of, get through that, um, in that 30-minute meeting because like you said, there isn't a lot of time. Everybody's, looking for more time. And I think AI is um, that helper that can, do that succinctly for you.
Yeah, and to tie it back to the marketing strategy as a whole, like, what is your organization's content strategy around thought leadership? Is it volume driven? Is it value
Mm-hmm.
driven? That plays into it too. So if you're looking
Mm-hmm.
to get out as many pieces of content as you can, whether you're, B2C audience where you really have to connect with the patient on a number of different topics for the month, that
Mm-hmm.
can play a great role when you're talking specifically with, if you have a pediatric doctor who you're creating content for that segment for, you have 30
Mm,
minutes in between patients, that is a huge, huge help, especially for those with small
mm-hmm.
teams. If
For
you are
sure.
part of a larger organization and your strategy leans a little bit more towards value rather than volume, you
Mm-hmm.
know, having that summary of the notes or having that partner to help you with ideation certainly does make things more thoughtful and a little bit easier to start instead of just starting from scratch and joining
Mm-hmm.
the call. Like you said, without joining with an agenda is tough. So if you come prepared and you have all
Mm-hmm.
that information with a little bit of help with AI, you can have those more in-depth conversations, that one layer down in the onion to get you where you need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you kind of said it perfectly. That leads into kind of, where I wanted to head next. But what, many brands are adopting AI to scale for content production. But there are companies who, value volume over actually true value. So, you know, what's your thoughts on how, can companies really maintain a focus on value and authenticity without falling into the trap of like we need to constantly get more new content out there, that kind of that volume trap.
Yeah, you're right. I think AI does open that opportunity of more, more, more.
Mm,
And that to me isn't what we should be doing. I, I
mm-hmm,
I truly believe just because you can doesn't mean you should type of
mm-hmm,
situation with this. We have been working as an industry for years about talking about the power of your brand and how important that
mm-hmm,
value is that you have. If you start watering it down with, all right, let's just put out as many pieces of content as we can a day, a
mm-hmm,
week, a month, and going for that high score, I suspect that your analytics and your readership is going to be impacted in a negative way because
mm-hmm,
people will see through it at some point. There's going to be a point where, you know, the people who are reading your content are going to say, how are they writing this much about this one
for sure.
topic again and again and
Mm-hmm,
again? Um, Again, it's no knock on folks who do volume. I mean, there are organizations out there that do some incredible work and work fast and
Hmm.
get quickly. But if I were creating my marketing strategy right now with AI as a tool, I would still continue to be value over volume.
Yeah. And like you said, people are going to catch on, especially people in our, field from a healthcare marketing perspective, and even just our audiences. People are going to know and see through that and think, how are they doing that? Or, why are they doing that? When I see someone who's kind of, pushing the content out, actively or at a level that is more than would be normal, you think, oh, okay, they're obviously using a tool to help them, which, like you said, is totally fine. However, is it really bringing something new to the table? Is it really, is it authentic? Is it, piquing my interest? Or is it something that I'm just going to scroll by and say, I've seen this before, I've read this before. It's not bringing anything to the table.
Right. Yeah, content for content's sake never works, no matter what world you're in.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think we're also, I mean, maybe this is just me, but I think we're also getting to a point in, I think, our industry and society in general where I think we're almost sick of that overconsumption. I know I am. So it's like I would much rather less things coming at me on a daily basis, and more meaningful and thoughtful pieces coming at me rather than being bombarded every day or with 10 things that kind of you know mediocre or lack the authenticity or the meat.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I'm in the same boat. I when I talk about content, I always tend to pick on BuzzFeed, and it's no offense to
Mm,
BuzzFeed. They went back in those days when content marketing became new, like 2011, 2012, I think.
mm-hmm.
BuzzFeed came out 6 times a day, 7 times a day with all these quizzes and polls and what
Right,
princess are you today or like all these other
right.
things. And at first, it's great because you have a wonderful bit of content. There's it's new, it's unique, it's fast, it's easily digestible, things like that. But
Mm-hmm.
you look at their model and how eventually people were just like another quiz, another poll.
Mm-hmm.
Their audience is the
Mm-hmm.
same way because they're not just listening to just you. Like they're listening to hundreds of vendors that send similar content, the
Mm-hmm.
media that's sending out their top roundups as well. So like everyone's fighting for that little bit of brain space that you have day to day from a content
Mm-hmm.
perspective. Why try to fill it with nonsense? Because
Mm-hmm.
you lose that audience much quicker with a low quality, high volume piece than you would if
Mm-hmm.
you had a thoughtful sit down and digest it type of piece of content. And again, you could do that anyway. It could be an infographic, it could be a
Mm-hmm.
long white paper, it could be a quick video, whatever it is, whatever form it takes. The higher the value, the more chance that your audience is going to listen to it.
Yeah, and I think those quick pieces too, I mean, they also have a place, and maybe the mix has to be, some here and then more of that quality
Yeah.
piece. But I know for myself, when I find a white paper or an infographic or even, a video that is really good information or evergreen information that I save and I go back to it time and time again, that brings, I think, me more value than any of those little, small pieces that maybe, yes, give me a chuckle and they're good for, a quick, snack size piece of content. I'm always referring back to those meatier pieces, and I'm saving those and going back to them on a daily basis because it gives me so much, information or insights that I always want to go back and rely on.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So, if we talk about AI generated content a little bit, in terms of, we talked about how you can kind of tell if someone's doing it, where there's some that are kind of gray area. Do you think that audience are able to tell the difference, um, if something is actually AI generated versus not? And if they can, does it matter? Do people care?
Yeah, I think I'll lump people into two groups. Healthcare marketers can tell. We look at
Mm,
this stuff all day. I think we can immediately go to a brand and say whether or not it's their own writing or if somebody else is writing it. For vendors too, like, you can kind of see through what's happening. But that's because we're looking at it all day, right? I
Hmm.
think the typical audience, I'm not quite sure that they're going to be able to 100% tell just yet, especially within healthcare. I will set the stage with that comment and say that I believe that the majority of the audience, when any type of healthcare content comes out there, are skeptical on it, no matter what the source is. I think that's just the way, unfortunately, the American healthcare system is. People are just
Hmm.
they're going to question, they're going to keep searching for what they believe is right until they find it. So that volume versus value type of thing kind of plays into that world. So I think there's not as much of an black and white type of this is
Hmm.
AI, this isn't AI as we
Right.
believe could be at this point right now.
Hmm.
But for people who are generating it, I think especially for the B2C audiences, um, if we could keep the trust or build the trust with that audience and just tell them, hey, this is AI generated or AI assisted
Hmm.
created content. I mean, if you look at some places, there's paid media that's linked and it says right at the top, paid media. If the
Mm.
topic's interesting, I'm going to click on it no matter what, right?
Right.
Like, it's not like the AI content is just going to have this like over the top headline that's going to be, you know, catch your eye only and not have any value, like AI is
Hmm.
better than that. But what I will say is by having that label there, I mean, that might be a great place to start, especially B2C. I think B2B,
Hmm.
there's nuances to it. But B2C, when you're talking directly to a patient about something, why not? I don't see the
Hmm.
harm.
Hmm. And I think these days too, I think people are also forgiving. So, if they see something that's generated and you see that classic dash that like ChatGPT puts into every sentence they have, which I'm like, why do they do that? But I think people are forgiving. And I think most things, or maybe not most things, I probably should backtrack that, but I think a lot of things are, like you said, AI assisted these days, right? So it's almost become somewhat of a norm. And I think, people, especially in our industry, are, somewhat forgiving of, knowing that it is AI assisted. And like you said, putting it out there also does just build that trust. Like we're not trying to hide the fact that we're using AI or that we're, using these assistants because it is becoming part of our everyday life, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot of inside baseball with a lot of the way content is created too. I
Mm.
mean, do the audiences know that many CEOs don't write their own content? That like some
Right.
marketers ghostwrite it? Like, does that water down anything from there? So I think
Mm.
along those same lines, it's how the sausage is made type of deal. Once it's
Mm.
published, in my thought, if it's from an SEO or it's from the brand, like it has the brand behind it, so it stands for something. That it
Okay.
depends on what you value that brand to be. Now, that's a different discussion for a different day about having the
Mm.
value of your brand attached to your content. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're looking to build the trust and you're looking to add, an extra layer to it, I mean, why not label it? But again, like
Mm-hmm.
we don't label ghost written content. It usually goes
Mm-hmm.
out. I don't know if I want to play
Mm-hmm.
devil's advocate with myself here. That's food for thought as well.
And I mean, and like you said, ghostwriters have been around forever as well. And people, either sometimes know or sometimes don't and aren't really, you know, getting angry behind their computers when they know that there's a ghostwriter involved.
Yeah,
But
yeah. The stigma goes away. I mean, it's the same thing with
yeah.
paid media stuff. At first, it was always like, oh, it's just clickbait. It's the way to get you to this and sign up for that, blah blah blah. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think that has gone away quite a bit at this point, especially with the introduction of AI being able to bring more value to those pieces of content. Like
Mm-hmm.
at this point, content is content. Like it's out there a lot, and it's all mixed together, and there's no
Mm-hmm.
overall governance to any of this. So it's
Mm-hmm.
it's up to you to make that decision. Again, if I'm running a marketing team and that's my B2C world, I'm labeling it. So that way people just
Mm-hmm.
have that little extra trust in it.
And like you said, the content is content, but content is also hard too. A lot of folks within our, our community or even our industry are, teams of one, teams of two. So, creating that content is hard, and they do have to rely on an AI assistant or an AI tool to be able to help them, even just get that content out there. So I'm curious, do you have any strategies that, organizations or teams can use to help, strengthen their content or, their thought leadership efforts um, within the market or, as they compete against, bigger teams or AI powered competitors?
Yeah, I have a few ways that organizations can utilize AI and strengthen their identity externally. So first and foremost, I think you need to really focus on who you are as a brand, and utilize AI to strengthen that messaging. Again, it's a tool in your toolbox at this point.
Mm,
You should be looking at everything. I understand that sometimes messaging takes many eyes and many approvals and things like that to get across, but why not strengthen it? You know,
mm,
if AI has those capabilities, you can now take this tool and look at your competitors and see what they're doing or see what the industry is talking about and using AI as a tool for social listening at times.
mm,
That way, none of us have to go to any more healthcare events and see everybody's event booth have this phrase above it with their tools, right? Because there's no excuse for it
right.
anymore. AI
Hmm.
can go through social media pages and they can go through these other areas where it shows, you
Mm,
know, what people are using. What are the most common phrases that people are using for event booths, things like that. So
mm,
there's ways that you can differentiate yourself that way by using AI as that like tool
mm,
to around and help yourself be more creative. Um, Internally, I think that's where this starts. I think with
mm,
AI, it's big because everybody sees the new tool, sales, operations, everybody is like, oh, I can use AI any way I want, right? Well,
mhm,
I think it's important to set some governance, set some structure behind it. You know, what is on point, what is off point with these? You know, are you comfortable using AI to generate quotes for your executives? Are you comfortable
mhm,
using AI to generate sales emails? Because again, like when that content's out there, it has your brand behind it, it has your value behind it, and
mhm,
it takes one piece to water that down and 10 to build that trust back up. You really
mhm,
don't want to misstep just because you want things to go faster. You know, you have to stay within
right.
your lane and stay true to that brand that you've all worked so hard to get to.
Mhm,
All that, if you're doing all that and everything's great, I say testing. I test so many things.
mm,
I'm a huge A/B test fan. Let's segment the audiences and see, all right, what's this headline in an email versus the AI's headline? Let's see which one performs.
mm,
Again, there's a lot of factors that go into it. What's the content? What's, who's the sender, all these things with it. But it's worth
mhm,
looking at that level from a tactical perspective. Like, let's get
right.
down to where we can actually use it because those minutes that you're not spending thinking of a headline generator or things like that, that's more time to be creative. That's more time to look at the topics and themes that you're having and then being able to
Mhm,
say, how can I tell this story? How can I get this message across in a unique way and not just have it live in one form and then that's that. Like
mm,
read the white paper, right? Like that's
right.
it. Like, that frees
Mm,
up our brain space to be able to do more things for it. So yeah, focus on who you are, focus on your
mm,
people, make sure that they're using it right, and then when you go
mm.
externally, that it's going to count and test it if you have any hesitations with it.
I love what you said there and that answer because I think a lot of people, because an AI tool or ChatGPT is so easy to use and accessible to everybody, people are just using it willy-nilly, which is fine. But like any other tool that you're bringing into your marketing stack or into your organization, you want to be able to, test it, put some guidelines around it, put some rules around it. So we're not just, hitting send and it's going out. And like you said, potentially I don't want to say ruining reputation, but breaking some trust with your audience, right? So I think we need to look at these AI tools as any other tool that we're bringing into our organization, like a marketing automation tool or a project management tool, where we're setting up at least some boundaries, some governance, so we know and everybody knows on the team how it's supposed to be used, and kind of those if, when, or, and that type of scenarios to be able to use it appropriately.
Yeah, definitely.
Love it. So, okay, let's fast forward 2 to 3 years, 2 to 5 years. What does successful thought leadership, look like in our healthcare landscape? Maybe fully integrated with AI. What does it look like to you? Is there anything, you think that we need to be aware of or think of as we kind of move through this, big mega adoption of AI?
Yeah, I think the thing to look out for is the why. I've brought
Mm,
this up times on separate calls and discussion points of, creating content is content. We're going to get it out there over the next 2 to 3 years. AI generated content is going to own the stratosphere, right? It's going to be
mm,
every whether we like it or not, which is fine if we use it appropriately and use it correctly. When we talk thought leadership in particular, the strategy that I stand behind all the time is the why.
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
finding out, understanding what our product and our services do, and then why we had to have this product and service. What
mm,
is it eventually going to do? It's going to get down to the patient. It's going to get down to the clinician or the physician. It's going to help somebody in some way. That's what we need to keep in mind. So when we're telling the stories of, we just built this new tool that does XYZ at the patient's bedside and point of care and all that. Well, what problem was that solving and why?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
What patients are going to be impacted by this and what does it mean for the patient? When I worked with senior living, it was something where we talked about more days at home. Like
mm-hmm,
what would it mean for a patient to have a couple more days at home instead of being in a hospital?
mm-hmm,
Those are the pieces and those threads that you need to keep as part of your marketing strategy. You can't just live with, I want to create 150 pieces of content this year, cover all three of my solutions, and make sure that like sales is armed with everything they need. That needs to be,
mm-hmm,
but you need to be able to understand at the baseline what you're doing. Who am I helping and why am I doing this? If you
mm-hmm.
for that in 2 3 years, we'll continue to stay afloat and we won't have our jobs taken by AI like everybody's so worried about. So
I agree. I saw, and I'm not gonna remember who posted it, but on LinkedIn recently, someone had, worked months on creating, I think, an op-ed or a piece to be submitted to a reputable news source, and put, so much effort into it. Beautifully written, thought it flowed well, and then submitted it, and took 4 months to write, and then within 2 hours got a rejection, and was really contemplating why I got that rejection, what happened. So, wrote to the media place and said, can you give me a little bit of feedback about, the piece? And it was really about, the why, the the thought provoking piece. And I think as content writers, a lot of time, as we kind of get into the mud of building these pieces, like you said, or, I need to have one for my each vertical, and I need to make sure that each quarter we have X, Y, and Z, we almost lose sight of that why. And we're so fixated on, does it look good? And is it covering all of my solutions? And, is it an infographic and a webinar and an ebook? Do we have all these things, thought of, that we lose sight of? Is it really speaking to the audience, and is it really telling them or giving them the why, or why do I care, or what's important to me? So I love that, because I think we lose sight of that as we're trying to generate all of this stuff for our marketing strategy. So okay, last thoughts. Any advice that you want to give to some content leaders? Anything that you guys are doing to ensure that thought leadership, is staying impactful and credible for your audience as AI continues to evolve?
Yeah, the one thing that I've been using AI more and more for is the social listening perspective
Mm,
and the aspect of that tool. Um, I love reading every newsletter I get, every article that's in the media, everything from our partners and vendors alike.
mm,
And then you come to find out that you're spending 2 to 3 hours a day reading content from other people, which is great. It's fun to do, but you also have a job that you have to do, right? So if I can utilize AI to summarize the day's work or the month's work and trends and things like that, it's a
mm,
great companion to have with you.
mhm.
Don't think of it as just a tactical tool as well. Like there
Right.
is opportunities for you when you're building strategies to utilize AI to look outside that box. When's the last time that this topic was talked about in a video, or
Mm,
who this really well, and you have them, search their site for all the different times they've used video over the last
right.
2, 3 months. I use AI in a lot of different ways. The strategy behind it is just to make sure that I'm on top of what's out there.
Hmm.
Also, the partner next to me editing my content as well,
Right.
before, of course, it goes through our editing process internally as well. But AI is not something to be afraid of at this point. I think if I
Mm,
was one piece of advice is just don't be afraid of this tuna tool. Learn about
mm,
it. Get into it. Try to spend some time each day and see how other people are successfully doing it. And those who are trying to do it and failing, you'll learn just as much.
mhm.
But get to know the tool because it is going to be around.
Well, and I'm curious too, as a social listening perspective, how are you using it exactly? Are you training your AI tool with all the newsletters that you get and just putting it in there and it's spitting out what that is, or are you using it in a different way completely?
So I will tell you directly from like media perspectives, I will through prompts comb through like, my top 5 publications that I have, come up with the
Mm,
last like 5 months, 6 months worth of topics, 3 months worth of topics, 1 month worth of topic, and see if there's
mm,
any changes there. And
correlate. Right.
how often are they talking about Epic? How often are they talking about
Mm,
interoperability or patient care, or anything else
mm,
like that? If
cool.
I'm watching and I keep seeing people talk about Epic every single month, then I know, hey, the content that I have in the next 2 months are gonna
Needs to
align.
be epic.
Yeah. But if all of a sudden I want to talk about um a topic that has fallen off the shelf, and I'm gonna
Mm,
spend time and effort, again, working with a small team, time and
mm,
effort creating this big campaign around a topic that is a little bit outdated at this point, or something is coming down the pipeline in 4 months, like that makes me
mm-hmm,
think my strategy quite a bit.
mm-hmm,
Yes, let's move forward with the content, but maybe let's figure out different ways to put it out there. Let's get it
mm,
out there quicker compared
right.
to slower, and make those types of adjustments. But yeah, it's a lot of that. I'll have it comb company blogs and my blog in particular at
Mm,
Optimum, make sure that I'm not utilizing the same introduction every time, or like,
right.
same buzzwords, things like that, to keep myself honest. And yeah, and the AI search content is another big thing too. So I'm using
Mm,
that, like, how do I better show up on Google, and like ask
right.
content questions like that, and have it kind of ask itself questions
Mm-hmm.
there. So yeah, there's
I love
there's
that
it's a time-saving tool. It's just something that you can get lost doing and just have so much fun doing. I know people that
for
plan
sure.
vacations with it, so it's
Mm,
fun. It is what you wanted to make it, but again, it's part of the process. It's a tool in the tool bag, just like your AP style book is, just like everything else that
mm-hmm.
you have in there.
Well, and I think people are also using it for things that, obviously from a professional perspective, but like you said, now it's in all corners of our lives. Like you said, planning vacations, or maybe I read the other day people are using it for meal prep,
Yeah.
to help save time. This is what I have in my fridge. What can I use? Or the one that I saw the other day, which I was like, oh, interesting. It's kind of like giving her vibes, but using it as a marriage counselor, or like a therapy session where you're asking questions and getting advice. I'm like, no, if we want to do that, but it's such an interesting realm that is kind of expanding in all aspects of our life. So
It's just another person to talk to. And like we just
yeah,
don't want to
yeah,
be lonely, like
it's so
period.
sweet.
So like we just want to talk to somebody and like hear from
Yeah.
somebody else's
Yeah,
take on
we
it.
just want to hear Scarlett Johansson repeat back to us that we're doing a good job. We're great
Yes.
at what we do.
Yeah, you're doing awesome. Keep it going.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I
you're doing great, sweetie. Wasn't the Kris Jenner say that all the time?
want.
Kids. Oh, Matt, well, this was so great. I always love chatting with you. You always have such great insights. And I'm sure everyone listening and watching will get so much from this. And I know it's an ever evolving, um, you know, realm, thought leadership in itself, but also AI. So I'm sure we could probably do another podcast on this in a couple months, and things will have changed and we'll be talking about different things. So I appreciate you being here, and always lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brittany. Always appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt.